Hey everyone, Mrhappy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mrhappy, aka Mrhappy Mondays, the only video I've done in the last week. Yo, I'm really sorry. I took 3 days vacation in Vegas, and I found myself passing out from 2 to 6 p.m. every day and getting nothing done. Picked up an extra raid day, and I got nothing done. I think I recorded 1 bit of audio the whole week, so I'm sorry. I've been pretty useless this week. So big shout out to the patrons, because they supported effectively nothing other than this in the last week. There wasn't even a State of the Realm because I didn't have time to put a show together. By the way, State of the Realm's not going to be till Friday this week. Just want you to know. But thanks again to the patrons, because I feel like I let everyone down this last week, but I always feel that way. So I'm never happy with it. But I finally am not passing out at 2 in the afternoon. It took till yesterday, but yesterday I almost threw up. So my body's all out of whack. I got to get it back in line, and then we can get back to doing videos and content like we're supposed to be doing on the YouTube channel. Thanks to our patrons of darkness, of course, Khuja, Cross on Jenova, who finally got me another new picture, by the way. Thank you, Khuja. And Kurenai, Oni, thank you both for supporting. You guys didn't say anything at all. You just like, here's a picture, and I'm like, cool, we're going to do that. So anyway, with that, I got some chores I still got to take care of around the house, because I got stuff to do around here too. So let's get started so I can take care of that. All right, question number 1, hashtag Mrhappy Mondays. Hello, Mrhappy. I was curious to hear what are some of your pet peeves when you see other players doing. A few things I noticed. People are doing melee, not doing positionals. DPS not using AoE. That's a big one. Healers standing around overhealing like crazy. Ice mages, red mages hard casting their long spells. People drastically under gear for content, etc. Man, I gotta pick. I guess you said some, not just one, but if I could do a whole video on this. Man, there's quite a few. I'd say my biggest pet peeve, I'll just go with one, is when somebody kindly is trying to offer some sort of suggestion. And there's one situation I always reference that has happened to me at least 4 or 5 times in Cutter's Cry. It's when somebody genuinely sees someone playing a certain way, and they're not trying to be a dick, they're not trying to be passive aggressive, which is really hard to get across in text form. And they're like, hey man, just so you know, that's not usually, what, people do on that job. If you do this instead, it would be a big improvement, not trying to be a dick. By the way, that's my exact guideline for if I see someone playing a certain way, like they fundamentally don't understand the job in like the level 30 to 40 range. So I can at least point them somewhat in the right direction for a situation. And, I've tried that a few times in Cutter's Cry with black mages in particular. I'm pretty sure it's 4, not 5 times, but what'll happen is, I'll see the hard casting Fire 3 and then transposing and then casting Blizzard 1, then only hard casting Fire 3 and not AoEing. I'll see things like that, and that's my exact template, because I know it's impossible to get across not being passive aggressive or a dick through text alone. And I just literally say, like, I'm not trying to be a dick, but I know other people are going to give you a really hard time for it. So I figure it's better if I probably say something than someone who's just gonna, baby rage at you or go like hardcore and post it on Reddit or some shit like that. And 2 times I got no response, but one of those 2 times the guy actually started changing, and at the end of the dungeon thanked me for the advice. The other 2 times I've gotten the quote, "you don't pay my sub" style responses, where it's like, don't worry about it, or just focus on you. And it's like, all right, I mean, I tried. I did what I did. I just finished the dungeon and move on with my life. But that's probably the biggest thing, is when somebody is genuinely trying to see, they see a plan, they're genuinely trying to go, hey man, you can improve by doing this, and somebody just like is so is just not receptive to it at all. That's probably my biggest pet peeve. All right, next one, hashtag Mrhappy Mondays. Hey Haps, how you doing? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. I got a limit break question for you. I only see the healer LB3 being used on extreme cases of pop it or wipe, but as a DPS who's experienced being kept dead for over a minute while the healer struggled to keep the rest of the party up, wonder if that LB3 being used to get me up on top everyone else would contribute more to damage input than saving it for a hit on the boss. So I ask you, at which point is it more advantageous to have a healer pop the LB3 and raise dead people? I don't have actual numbers, can be wrong, but saying 2 to 3 DPS out for 20 seconds seems like too big a loss. So generally 2 to 3 DPS being dead is the sign to try and do it, but more people tend to wait till 1 of the 2 healers is dead. When 2 people are dead, you could theoretically get 2 swift cast reses on them, but then if somebody dies again in the next minute and it just starts cascading downward, it really does depend on the boss what ends up being better in this situation. If you're dead for a whole minute, That's just messed up, because there should be no situation in which a healer cannot get you for a full minute unless you just died after somebody else died and all the swift casts are gone. And even then, there's more than enough time to, you know, remove a few glares from a rotation or something like that and hard cast a res, as much as it kills you on the inside. Some people also will see the DPS of a fellow party member and be like, nah. I've seen that happen before as well. Like, what was he doing? 6k Dragoon? Before he died? Meh, swift cast is down. I've seen that happen. Don't do that, by the way. But yeah, that's all there really is to it. It's just a matter of, if we do not use it now, we wipe. And that can mean a mechanic that requires 8 people is coming up, and a lot of people are dead. That can mean too many people are dead, and honestly, just use it, because by the time you think to use it, it's probably going to be too late. So it's not so mad. In the exact situations you've given me, it still is. There's not like a clear answer for it. But I just think it's funny how often we save the healer LB3 and it goes completely unused. Because what ends up happening on top of that, I can name on more than 2 hands, unfortunately, the number of times where a boss has been at like 4 or 5% DPS LB3s, everyone dies immediately, and you're like, wish we'd saved it. And it's always like super dumb when that happens, but it's always funny to me. So, yeah, I'd say it's more so just identifying on a per fight basis, do I need it now? Will we lose if I don't use it now? Will we fail a DPS check? Will we fail a mechanical check? Just some sort of condition in which it is urgent to get those people up, because a lot of the times when 2 or 3 people die, unless you're in a static or a well-organized group, the fight's over, in all honesty. When it comes to savage encounters, extreme encounters, you don't even need the 2 to 3 people unless everyone's really, really underperforming. So, it just swift cast. Just make sure healers got that swift cast ready just in case. Next one, hashtag Mondays. And then we've now learned that the Monday does not own the whiff. It's Mondays with Mr. Happy. The way, whatever, the apostrophe breaks up the hashtag is all I'm saying. Whatever. Hey, Haps, how you doing? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? Yeah, you doing all right. Long-time viewer, only second question. I have your choice of the next Primal EX weapon of your choice or stake. Of course I'm taking stake. I don't need EX Primal weapons anyway. My question is, how do you feel about New Game Plus? How will it work? Will it be tied to our primary character or our account? Remember the Cosmopolitan. What? You mean the casino that I was at like most of the weekend? All right, I don't know if that, I don't know if the Cosmo has anything to do with that, but so New Game Plus is just for the character that you've completed the story on. It is not for secondary characters. Those characters already have story available to them, so you wouldn't need a New Game Plus for another character when your main character already has it. But we otherwise don't know exactly, we don't know all the exact details. It's not a feature that's coming till 5.1. Our first 5.1 live letter is not until Tokyo Game Show, and I believe the exact live letter date is on September 15th. So we don't know if it's going to reward experience points for if you want to do it on another job to level. I really think they should make it do that, even though I would not personally choose to suffer myself to doing the main scenario to leveling multiple jobs. I'd much rather dungeon spam and have it done in like 8 to 10 hours for like an expansion's worth of level ranges. And then on top of that, we don't know how the rewards will work for the individual quests. There's certain rewards, obviously, they couldn't give a second time. I have a feeling they're just going to completely forego all rewards and patch in experience points for it later, or they're going to make it worth very little experience points right from the get-go, because it's really not meant to be a means of leveling another character. From what they've spoken about, it is strictly a means of doing the story to experience it again. You can even do it on a level 80 character, and the instanced quests that are not dungeons, you know, like any of the random one-player instances you get, will actually be scaled up to your level. They won't be more difficult, but you'll at least be able to do them entirely as a level 80 with your level 80 skill set. So, but other than that, there's not really much to say about New Game Plus. I expect there may be an achievement tied behind it or something, but other than that, I don't have much in the way of expectations. All right, next one. Hashtag Happy Mr. Monday Remix. Ahoy, happy guy. You look nice today. Thank you. Not a 14 question this time. Was just wondering, what are your thoughts on the MCU? Have you seen the films? And if you have, what is your favorite? I have seen every single one. Will be getting Disney Plus to watch those, and will be watching the movies that are coming out in Phase 4 and 5, much to my own disappointment, with Spider-Man 3 being a Sony. It looks like it's going to be Sony owned. I mean, at this point, I don't see any way around it. It's been confirmed at this point that the next Spider-Man movie will not be a part of the MCU again. Sony. I mean, everyone was kind of dicking about with that situation, but, you know, it's easier for me to blame Sony. Anyway, I guess that. But yeah, no, I've been a huge fan of the MCU. Oh, my favorite one though, I'm gonna exclude Infinity War and Endgame because I feel like that's cheating. I'll go with the standalones. And for standalones, I think Guardians. I think Guardians of the Galaxy. Actually, for me, the first one over the second one, even though the second one's like it's close. But I think for me, the magic was really made on the first one. And so, yeah, I'm going to go with that, Guardians of the Galaxy. And the movie I'm actually most looking forward to in the next phase is Blade, because Blade was one of the first comic book movies that I watched growing up. My father always watched all the different vampire movies minus Twilight, so Blade was on all the time. And so seeing Cottonmouth get to play Blade, which is weird because I think there's one other actor who's done two different parts in the MCU. I think because he did one in like a TV series, like I can never pronounce the guy's name. I just say Ali because I can't pronounce the first part off the top of my head. I think it's Mashera. I think that's what it is. It's like I feel like there's more syllables, but Mashera Ali is what comes to mind. I just say Cottonmouth. He's played Cottonmouth Luke Cage. I can't wait to see him play Blade. And I've heard rumors that that Wesley Snipes, they're gonna like try to find a way to like pay homage to him. If not him be, I've heard rumors he's gonna play Dracula, and I'm like, no, there's no way they get Wesley Snipes to play Dracula. That would be fucking amazing, but I don't think that's gonna happen. Yeah, that's my most anticipated one, and otherwise Guardians would be my favorite, pre-Phase 4 movie. All right, next one, hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays, going back to the classic. Hey Hap, haven't had a real question in a while, so here's a bonus of 99 hive totems. Okay. I can solo Ravana, and I have a mount, so I guess I'll just descent the weapons before they ruin descent. Anyway, just having returned about 3 months ago, missed the entirety of Stormblood, but for Shadowbringers, decided to be serious about leveling, crafting, and gathering, and I'm finally in the 71 plus range. Hey, me too. I've actually got them all to 80. Thank you to Tequila Shots, one of my moderators on Twitch, for making leaf kits for me, which I did pay for. Put like 25-30 mil into those leaf kits. Hearing a lot about Ishgard restoration in the future, and I've been wondering in what way, if any, will it resemble the Doman Enclave reconstruction effort. Hearing that Ishgard will be endgame, but Doman Enclave so far has just been a way to donate extra stuff. So I think the only way that Ishgard is really comparable to the Doman Enclave is that it will be built up over several patches. Ishgard seems to be, I don't want to say much more involved because we don't have the nitty gritty on it. Again, we're still waiting on those 5.1 live letters to come through, but it seems to be much more of a way to work towards it. Diadem is going to be involved specifically with Ishgard restoration. We don't know exactly how yet. If they're going to change Diadem to be mostly about the gathering portion and less about the combat portion, which is kind of better off at this point, or if they're going to rework Diadem in some more severe way to allow combat jobs to participate. We know that combat jobs will be able to participate in smaller ways, but it's really going to be down to the crafters and the gatherers. There's going to be a PvP style leaderboard for crafters based on contributions, which they can earn unique rewards per contribution time period. So there's going to be all sorts of things like that. After the restoration is done, we are going to be getting like seasonal events for Ishgard as well on the servers that have completed it. And thus, there's a lot of motivation for people to kind of get in there and get involved. But the real question is, will it actually challenge crafters? There's going to be about a quantity over quality kind of thing. We'll just have to wait and see. On top of that, what we're hoping is that by the time Ishgard is fully restored, we will have a new housing area opened up in Ishgard. It's been something that's been talked about for a long time. There were two things that we could do to get Ishgard housing. One would be to completely rebuild it because it's still completely a shithole. Or two, for Korthus to melt. And then it would still probably require step 1. So even at the North American Fan Festival, when they revealed Ishgard restoration as a concept, Koji had translated words from Yoshida about living there. So I think that servers that have completed it will see at some point that Ishgard housing opens up. And I don't think we'll see that until at least 5.5, if not 6.0. But despite being a while away, that's kind of more the expectation, that while there probably will be minor donation system like Doman Enclave, everything else will be its own separate progression system. Next one, hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays with the capital M and the capital H and the capital M and... Hey, Happy! First time asking a question on here. Welcome. But I wanted to know how you feel about the split player base primarily concerning Machinists. As it stands, Machinist has always been a job that heavily revolves around how much ping you have. I personally believe this design is a flaw. I was really excited to play Machinist in 5.0 and highly thought the ping issue would be somewhat resolved, but unfortunately it seems worse. You think the development team is aware of this issue? It really sucks that this job can't be played optimally because of the issue. You either can't weave OGCDs, you can't get all 5 heat blasts in the hypercharge window, and it just feels bad. Forgive the loaded question and the horrible English. It wasn't horrible English so much there weren't enough spaces between certain words. That's about all there was. I at the beginning of the video I mentioned how I've got nothing done except for like 1 or 2 audio recordings. 1 or 2 of the audio recordings I got done was my thoughts on Machinist, so I'll sum them up a little bit. I really like what they achieved with Machinist, but my view is a bit skewed because I don't have any issues with clipping GCDs on it because I live on the west coast of the United States playing on the North American servers, which I believe are on the West Coast ever since they moved them a few years ago. So I don't experience those problems. I otherwise have like very basic problems like Flamethrower not being a very satisfying skill, Wildfire not being a super satisfying skill, and I think Machinist overall should have more damage than it does right now compared to the other ranged physical DPS. Those are my concerns with it, but I do always say that I kind of wish they just take Heat Blast, make it 1.75 seconds. Unfortunately, if it's set to a weapon skill, it would still have to be affected by skill speed, but ranged physical avoids skill speed like the plague as it is anyway, so I guess that's not really that much of a concern. So I'd just rather they bump it up to 1.75, bump up the potency on Wildfire, and just call it a day. I think 1.75 should be enough for a single weave, because that's adding another 250 MS like window that you can work with without clipping, and I think that would be enough for the majority of people. So that's what I propose for it. That's the one thing I'd like to see change about it from a systematic standpoint, so people with ping can enjoy the game a little bit more smoothly, as you've suggested. All right, next one. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays, no capitals. Hey, Mr. Hello. A very technical question. I don't know why I added the word very in there. A technical question for you, so don't be all rusty. What? All right. I'm starting to invest in streaming equipment. I have some professional experience in video editing and capture, but I'm still a baby when it comes to audio, and bad audio is something that turns me down faster than if you're taking the floor. Then you've hated some of the shit that I've put out. How do you manage your audio? Stuff like microphones, mixers, software to use, any kind of editing. So there are a lot of steps you can take for audio. I don't take very many of those steps. I used to have an XLR mixer for my microphone. I haven't used one in quite some time, only because I really don't have any space for it, believe it or not. I've got space everywhere around the room, but not on my desk, and that's kind of the big thing. I could put it on top of the printer over there, or I could move the printer, I suppose. But I also found it hard to really find to get a mixer right where I wanted it to be. I found I would just spend hours messing around, and like a week later, I'd end up finding something else to adjust. It was driving me mad. But yeah, I mean, there's so many different things you can use. Some very cheap and basic XLR mixers. You know, I'm using an Audio-Technica ATB 2020 microphone, which comes in both USB and XLR variants if you want to use a mixer. What a lot of people will actually do, something I also don't do, or I used to do when I was back in college before I did video editing for this purpose, is you record audio separately from your video capture. So you do an audio capture and a video capture. That way, Aloha just barging in, meowing. It's not dinner time yet, Aloha. Stop. So anyway, you record the video in a video capture device, and you record the audio in a separate audio capture device, something like Audacity. That way, if you want to then take it into an editing program, you know, raise the levels, lower the levels, you have a bit more freedom to do so, edit things out like clicks or random taps or things like that. So those are some really basic things that you can do to help with audio mixing. But a lot of the time, it comes down to just getting the right levels, making sure it doesn't peak too hard or at all, but still maintaining a decent level, and speaking into the microphone. One of the big things I do, and you'll hear it when I'm doing it right here, is a lot of the times I like to move around and express myself. And I move my mouth this way, and it kills the audio over here. And it's maddening. So finding a setup where you can actually kind of droop the microphone like down and face you, or if you do have it over to the side, like moving it further into your field of view so it's a little bit closer to your face, and then speaking like a normal speaking volume. If you're going to do it like this, though, would definitely recommend also a pop filter so you don't get the little sound that you get sometimes when you speak. For some reason, I don't have that issue as much as I thought I would without a pop filter, which is why I haven't gotten a new one since the last one I had broke because of the cat that just burst into my room. So with all that, hopefully you can take some of that. Oh, also a shock absorber for if you're like clacking and like, you know, your microphone is on, you know, it's clamped to the actual thing that you're using, like your desk. A shock absorber. It's another really good thing to grab. And yeah, it's quite a few things. But if you're really a stickler for audio, then you're probably going to invest in all those things. All right, next question. Mr. Happy Mondays. The M wasn't capital, first M, but the other two were. Hey, with the removal of TP for physical DPS, it's a lot easier to do AoEs without worrying about managing resources. I noticed that a lot of players do AoE on 3 mobs before I remember that it's not TP efficient. Now TP doesn't exist. Players seem very fond of AoEing on 3 mob pulls. Think we should AoE 3 mob pull or do single target rotation, focus mobs down 1 at a time? So generally, you're just looking at straight up potency efficiency when it comes to AoE versus single target. For example, if you have one single target skill that is doing 150 potency and you have an AoE skill that does 100 potency, but you're hitting 2 or 3 targets, then you know that the skill is going to become more efficient at X number of targets. And that becomes a very important thing to keep track of depending on which job you're actually playing. I can understand it still doesn't necessarily feel great to AoE on 3 targets at times, because you're thinking, oh man, you know, I've got this single target rotation, you know, I could burst this thing down real quick. But most of the time it ends up being worth just doing your AoE as soon as it's a potency gain overall for the overall speed of the actual, you know, individual pack. And then you just filter in like single target OGCDs, or like if you have a big cooldown that you can use, you know, you can always use that on the trash to speed it up. But yeah, it's just a matter of literally calculating potency versus the number of targets that you're actually hitting. All right, this one just went all caps. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Mr. Happy. First time asking, and a belated congratulations on the Savage clearing. Thank you. If I get a ring or an earring this week from Savage, I'm best. I need a ring. I need a ring or an earring and a coat. So, but I can always get the coat from, like, you know, books after a few weeks, or even in the later patch when the hunts actually add them. So my question is on deep dungeons and how they are approachable via soloing. My friend was always under the mindset that they were designed to be soloable with all jobs, but I beg to disagree. Also, is the achievement for soloing up to 200 and Heaven on High tested respectively for all jobs? So they literally said that they were not designed for solo at all. Like, Palace of the Dead and Heaven on High are both not designed to be traditionally soloable. However, they left the option open for people to enter with any number of individuals. The title for Palace of the Dead 200 solo was actually not in the initial patch that it was possible. They added the Necromancer, I think, a patch later, because they started seeing that it was, you know, I think at that point they saw that Red Mage was going to be capable of doing it. I think it was when they added Red Mage, Palace of the Dead got the Necromancer title, because I think they thought it was feasibly impossible until Red Mage was added to the game, and then they went, this job just might stand a chance. So no, they're not balanced around soloing at all. They're not tested around soloing at all. Wouldn't be surprised if people in the office tried it, but they are not meant to be soloed by every job. Now, I say that about Palace of the Dead more specifically, because Palace of the Dead is not only a much longer solo from 1 to 200, but it's way harder because there aren't as many instant kill things that you can pick up. The risk of getting a mimic is just as high, and there aren't as many things that it's worth risking it for, so you need a lot of luck, even as a Red Mage, to do Palace of the Dead 1 to 200. Heaven on High, on the other hand, has a ton of ways for you to actually go through and solo it. It still requires a bit of luck. Things like getting a certain number of Magicites, you know, fishing for an Elder Magicite really helps on, you know, one of the bosses, level 90 boss. And then even still requires very smart play, understanding how to kite mobs in between auto attacks and making sure you get hit by literally 0 attacks. You silence anything that needs silencing. You stun anything that needs stunning. You understand how aggro works. Can I just walk around this enemy because it doesn't aggro by sight, it aggroes by sound? If this monster aggroes by sight, can I stand in a little nook in the side so it doesn't aggro me and I can just let it pass? It's a lot of patience, a lot of careful movement, and still even then, a little bit of luck. So a lot more jobs have cleared Heaven on High 1 to 100 compared to Palace of the Dead 1 to 200. On top of that, it's shorter, which definitely helps the odds of you getting through, because you only need to be lucky for half as many floors pretty much. So yeah, but no, they're not tested or designed to be solo. They just know people can do it, so they put the titles in. All right, so that's actually the last question I'm going to get. I actually typed out a few responses, a few questions, but I've seen so many questions or comments on like other questions that I've answered. So it was like, I've done these answers so many times before that it's like kind of hard for me to kind of go about it. You know, one's about the companion app, which, you know, I can't stand. I can't stand that thing. It's don't care for it much anymore. There's some talking about skinning and trapping, which I'm of the opinion that people are like, oh, instead of adding skinning and needing to rework the mobs and their corpses, why don't you just add trapping? And it's exactly like mining and botany. You're just like finding locations to lay down traps. And I'm just like, but then why add it in the first place? If it's literally going to be, I guess, no different, it's not going to offer anything. You're just adding a job for the sake of adding one when it doesn't add anything to the game. It doesn't even like help fulfill like a class fantasy or something like that. So that's where I stand on that one. And maybe I should start taking like people's thoughts on I don't know. I had the whole idea with thing last time. When do I think instances will go away? I'm actually surprised they didn't go away already, but I think it's because of the Crystarium and Yulmore, even though you could remove them from some zones and keep them in other ones. I'm just like scrolling through ones real quick. Then I'm like, which ones are ones that I could just throw in an answer for? When are we getting crafted primal weapons for Dancer Gunbreaker? We're not. We've already been confirmed that we're not getting any of them for the old primals. They told us that in the last live letter. How would you go about doing the next relic weapon? We talked about that, you know, several times, about which version we should go with, and probably doing a mix of both of the previous methods would probably be the best bet to have for that one. If you have a chance to add a damage buff to Dragoon to their AoE rotation, probably not, because Dragoon's already insanely strong. And as much as I think it doesn't make sense for them to not have their damage buff extend on their AoE rotation, at least they're extending Blood of the Dragon. So it's a buff that would be cool, but it's also a buff they really don't need. What's another one right here? You know, why did Square Enix stop making guild hests? Because they were for tutorials for new players, and by level 70, if you still need those, then the first 50 levels of them didn't help anyway. That's the truth. That's the truth, unfortunately. What are predictions for jobs? You know, I get that question all the time, so I skipped over that one. This was a really long question that I just saw. What do you think about Trust? I think they're cool. Use them for main scenario quests. I think they should go back and add them to some old main scenario quests, but keeping them out of side content, I think, is a good kind of medium between that. There's a lore question that unfortunately I don't have much to add to it. What are the chances of adding Necromancer? 0. It was literally only a bonus job in like Final Fantasy V that you unlocked after beating everything in the game, so it was effectively pointless. And it's kind of a taboo thing in regards to both the realm of Final Fantasy XIV and a lot of cultures around the world, so it's definitely not a big thing. Thanks for might boost the drop rates for mounts crafted materials from old EXs doing minimum item level. I think they could. I don't think it would really encourage people to do them that much more. Elimination of veteran rewards. I answered a question about that, I think, either last week or the week before. It was in the last 2 weeks, I know that much. So yeah, all these old questions that I just grabbed real quick and did them at the end here. Yeah, that's kind of like why I've skipped over them. I've kind of given you reasons like as to why I've skipped over a lot of those various questions, so you kind of have a better idea of like how I sometimes approach questions like towards the end of the video and whether or not I actually want to take another question. You know, I look at elements like that based on my previous weeks of Mondays with Mr. Happy. But with that, I gotta go eat dinner, and then I gotta render this, and then I'm probably gonna go to bed because I really need to make sure my body gets over this stupid body. Yes, my body needs to get over my stupid body. You can tell. But anyway, I'm going to wrap things up. Thank you again to our patrons. Thank you, everyone, for asking your questions. If you have a question for next week, Mondays with Mr. Happy, just ask it in the comment section of the video below. I get a lot of people asking me where to ask it, and it just tells me that you don't ever make it this far into the video. I don't blame you, but it happens. It happens quite a bit. But anyway, I'm going to wrap things up. I need to get some sleep because tomorrow's going to be a long stream. Final Fantasy XIV, the Rising event, is going to be happening tomorrow. On top of that, I'm hoping to finish the post-game dungeon for Oninaki, which I have now completed the actual story content for on the Maniac difficulty. And then Classic WoW's at 3 p.m. Pacific. Unfortunately, I know queue times are going to be a bitch, so we'll see if I even get to actually play Classic WoW tomorrow, or if it's going to be the hilarity of queue times. Anyway, thanks for watching this episode. I'll try to get more than one video out in the next week. Well, I'll have State of the Realm. More than 2 videos out in the next week. I'll do my best. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Till then, take care.